how can I forget
Chase
him? Dressed
Winovich,
as
yeah.
the Pillsbury Doughboy. Cade York was there as Harry Potter, which was tremendous. And so it served two organizations, the Littlest Heroes and then UH, and it was a Halloween fashion show for children with pediatric cancer and their families. And the Littlest Heroes is an organization that provides emergency financial support for families battling pediatric cancer and other childhood illnesses. And then UH obviously is the Browns partner hospital with Seidman Cancer Center, and we were there, Cancer Institute. And so it was a very powerful thing, and it was so cool to see so many Browns there. And even though we all know that, this season on the field in terms of wins and losses hasn't gone the way we wanted to, it was pretty powerful to be a part of something that impacted so many people's lives the way that it did last night. Like, you see kids going through cancer, it's unfathomable. It's so unfair. But to see the smiles on their faces and the tears in their eyes, it was a really cool thing. And I know we haven't gotten it done, but this is certainly a team that's got a lot of really good human beings on it. And, Jacoby Brissett, man, I wish he was winning more because he's played well and he's such a good human being. He is such a good guy.
You see, whether it's the event you're at last night or, just his interactions that we have, the times we've had a chance to talk to him, he's as good a dude as you're going to find. And you see why when there are opportunities, he's quick to get them because he's awesome. He's a really good player. He's at the very, very highest end of the backup quarterback conversation and is a more than serviceable starter in this league, as proven by the start to this season for him. But it's so much more than that. He's one of the best dudes, and you have people vouching for him who played with him years ago, who coached with him years ago. He leaves an impression.
Yep.
And there's a lot to that, man. It was cool. It was great seeing the images last night.
It was awesome.
From that night, and it was good. So that was really good to see. I'm glad you took the time to do that out of the gates, my friend. After that, you checked out the Monday Night Football. I got into it around 9:30ish is by the time I got home from everything when I got rolling a little bit with it. So there's a lot of ways to start here, but let's just start here because I want to have fun on a Tuesday.
Okay.
This is why the Manning cast exists. This is it. This is the perfect example of a game where I watched only Manning cast. I forgot it was on. You had texted me about quarter zips and all of this stuff, so I was excited about that. Golfing with LD.
And he didn't even get mentioned in it. He's in the picture. It says LD on the scorecard, and he didn't even get a mention.
They glossed over the fact. So it's the two Mannings. It's President Obama, and it's
Peyton.
Peyton, Eli, and Barack Obama, President Barack Obama. They're the three on Manningcast.
On the show, yes.
And then they put up an image of them playing Riviera.
That was Peyton, Barack Obama, Larry David, and an unidentified fourth person. And then they showed the scorecard with each person's initials, and Peyton, I think, shot 80, and I think Obama shot 87, and LD shot 100.
I thought he was a stick.
I thought he was,
and
too.
It's his home course.
Yeah, well, not on this day. And the fact, though, that LD was in the picture, and I was like, oh, my God, LD. And the fact that he was on the score, I mean, it was Larry David. I mean, we all know who Larry David is. Didn't get mentioned. What they talked about was that Peyton topped his, opening tee shot, OB in front of everybody, and he was, humiliated.
But he shot 80.
Yeah.
So,
well, he got it. Obama gave him a presidential pardon for a mulligan.
I'll tell you this. That's pretty funny. This is also classic Peyton Manning, that he takes the fact that he shot 80 at Riviera with that foursome, probably was the best golfer in the bunch by a decent margin, won the day, whatever, and yet is still somehow the butt of the joke because he topped the ball off the first tee.
He did say that I would rather have lost 10 national television games and thrown 500 interceptions than have done that at Riviera. He's like, it still bothers me. And I think he meant it sincerely.
I think you're probably, that could be. That I think he probably, but I wonder why he would. Why would he be so
Obama
nervous?
was crushing him. Obama was like, I thought you were supposed to be clutch. I thought you were a big time performer.
The first battle.
Right. Yes, of course. He hits.
Most ridiculous par 3 you'll see. I mean, from a clutch standpoint. So that was really good. You and I were texting about that. I mean, from if you were to auction off those three to anybody, and this isn't any sort of political, take Obama out of there, put George W. Bush in there, just put anybody who wasn't, the type, similar, likable dude, and put him in there. Can you imagine what that gets at auction? A foursome at Riviera with Peyton Manning, LD, and pick your former president. Yeah. By the way, are we sure that Manning wouldn't be like Manning and LD might just be in any dream foursome? Peyton Manning seems like the best time ever.
He really does. I mean, listen, we know somebody who's golfed with him, so we could have him commentate his shots at a pretty reputable golf course.
Yeah, one you've heard of, yeah. But
I
it
mean,
is a pretty remarkable thing. So they had that, but then beyond that, so then they get into Bill Burr in the second half, and he's fantastic. And then the whole last quarter is Vince Vaughn for the entire last quarter. So now all of a sudden you get one of the most ridiculous, amazing reveals of all time, and that is Vince Vaughn telling Peyton Manning that he was the inspiration for Hot Route Red 27 in Wedding Crashers. Vaughn said the reason I put that in is because I thought it was great how you did that, and I told the director I think it would be really funny if I played this like Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning gives one of these, and it's like, that's probably, as much as he loves comedy and all of that stuff, that probably means as much to him as anything.
Yeah, it was a great reveal.
Can you imagine people down to, oh, yeah, I inspired the Hot Route scene in Wedding Crashers.
It's great.
They did that based on what I did.
Yeah.
I stuck all the way through because of Manningcast. I did not watch any of the game on the other channel. This game was garbage. We'll get to that part of it in a second. This is the perfect Manningcast game.
They're great, and I enjoyed the quarter where there was no guest. Yeah. I enjoyed, and when you got Bill Burr and then Vince Vaughn in the second half was just unreal. I mean, those back-to-back, it was a powerhouse. They were both great. So many funny moments.
Yeah.
It's the best. Like, I told Miss Kay last night, I said, you can put on Bachelor in Paradise. I said, I'm going to watch this on my phone, but with enough volume so that I can just hear what they're saying, because that's all I care about. I don't care about the game per se. Ramondre did exactly what he needed to do. Of course he would. He's a stud. I got the dub, and I just wanted to hear that. Like, the game was very much secondary.
So now here's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You're calling the game, so you won't understand this. And I don't know if they're doing Manningcast next week, but if they are, I think it's difficult to watch when you have stakes in it.
Right.
Very difficult. So that's why it's perfect for this. This was a nonsense game.
Perfect for every game.
Other than ones you care about.
Yeah.
In terms of the game, I think we're at a point now in the league, and we'll go around. Today's a big NFL heavy day, obviously. You're going to go around this league, and you're going to say to yourself, there are a couple of certainties. Buffalo's great. Kansas City's great. Philly might be. Their schedule hasn't been as ambitious as the other two. But
Dallas has an elite D.
And Dallas, fine. Beyond that, nothing. Nobody knows anything.
Anybody can beat anybody.
And it can happen in enormous swings. This Bears team is trash, and they smoked the Patriots yesterday at their place, who just smoked us. And you can't make sense of that. The two biggest spreads this week in the NFL was Buccaneers -11 at Carolina. And Carolina people had covered on Carolina for like 5 straight weeks.
They lost.
-11. They lost 21-3.
Yep.
They lost by more than they were favored by, and they were the biggest favorites of the week. The second biggest favorite of the week was last night, 8.5. Not only did they not obviously win by 8.5, they got smoked in the game.
So the kid back in the day used to do what was called a lightning bet.
Mm-hmm.
So if you took Carolina with the points, so like let's say it was 11.5, whatever the difference between the line and the final result was how much it multiplied the bet. So let's say you had Carolina +11, but they lost by 21. Your bet would be, you would have lost 10 times your bet. In this case, if you would have taken Carolina +11, they won by 18. So that's a 29 difference.
Yeah.
You'd have won 29 times your bet.
That's a real thing?
Lightning bets. Yeah, they're insane.
Never heard of anything like that. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's been several of those this year that would have paid.
Right. But I mean, you could just as easily be, if you
understand, but what I mean is like an inordinate amount of games this season, because I've tracked this, where the biggest favorites of the week not only don't cover, but lose or get drilled.
Oh, yeah.
It happens weekly.
Yeah. Yeah.
No one can make sense of it, let alone Vegas. And we're this far into it, and for them not to have a better handle on this is pretty wild.
One thing that stood out, and you go back and you look at the teams that New England struggled with, they can't deal with running quarterbacks. And Justin Fields, that was basically the game plan. And people are like, oh, they ran it. If we would have run it like that, well, we were behind by 3 scores early in the third quarter.
Right.
They were ahead the whole game.
And Jacoby's not
Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And their running backs ran it fine, 27 times, 124 yards. That's not insane.
No.
But Justin Fields was dynamic. It was good to see. And then the Patriots, they started with Mac Jones. He was dreadful. Zappe came in and initially gave them a real spark. And then afterwards, that kind of fizzled out rather quickly. It's wild. Week to week, I saw a graph, I think it was Barstool, or somebody did it. They're like, we'll beat most teams. And it said the 3 you mentioned, Buffalo, Kansas City, Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Can beat anybody, can lose to anybody. It had like the whole league. And then it said we'll lose most games. I think it had Houston and Carolina. So basically 27 of the 32 teams were in the can beat anybody or lose to anybody category. And I think that's probably spot on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. It's amazing to me. There was a stat on Belichick from without Brady, what his record is. And it's really pathetic to think about. And now as we've had more separation and you see how much he struggles at identifying talent, but then every once in a while he does what he did to us. And they just smoke somebody or they play out above their skis, but consistently they're just not there. There was no reason for them to get housed by this Bears team. None.
No. It does concern me that our D had a great game this week against Buffalo, but it is wild to me how easily they navigated our defense the week before. And then this week they looked lost against the Bears defense, and it hasn't exactly been a world-beating defense so far this season.
No, it is not. All right, I'm getting a lot of people sending me graphics of these dragons.
I know, but they're all very difficult to read.
And it's also very different. I mean, the sizing discrepancy is hard. I don't even know who some of these guys are.
I needed to go from left to right, where you've got like their tails all start at the exact same spot, and then their heads end at different spots, and then I need a width as well on them, like a height as well. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you can't just put them like posting where they are. I need like left to right, left to right. I need it all.
What's the name of the one he went in there to go see? Do we know that one's name?
I don't know.
That's the other thing I need. I need to know
is
how
that
compare.
Because his dragon is the red one with the long neck.
Right. And the long body. It's a long torso on that guy. Yeah.
He's
but then there's another, the one he went in to see, how big is that one in comparison to the biggest one that the little kid's driving without the eye?
Gee, Mr. Spicoli.
I
don't know.
One other thing I'd like to see. If we're going to throw sapphires in people's eye and you're the king, maybe why didn't you have one?
His was because I don't think, like the rest of his face was fine. The king's like face had
but not the whole time. Like, come on, I mean,
it had
sort it
melted
out.
Apart.
Well, there wasn't much there to it. Yeah, that's true. All right.
It was a very Darth Vader when he's like, "Look upon me."
I don't have a problem with that. That's what he should do. It all went to hell after that. He was holding the whole realm together. Yep. All right, we got one thought. We got a little higher, lower, better, or worse coming up as well. We'll go around the NFL landscape coming up next. We're off and running. Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Selling a home with Howard Hanna Real Estate Service is always a winning strategy. If you plan to make a move this season, they're going to have you covered. At Howard Hanna, every day is game day. Visit howardhanna.com/go Browns today. As we go around the National Football League, we talked about this a little bit yesterday with Kareem Hunt, potential landing spot for him if he is indeed dealt. Not that that's something we want, but if that is indeed happening, as is reported that calls are being received about Kareem Hunt, perhaps the Jets would be the place. That seems not to be the case now, as they acquire James Robinson from the Jaguars in exchange for a 6th-round pick that could become a 5th per the NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. This in reaction to Breece Hall being out for the season with a torn ACL. That's a pretty good job of the Jets of sorting out the running back problem in a day.
Yeah, action. And by the way, you and I were talking about this, what was it, last week, about Travis Etienne and how it looked like he was ascending. Well, they've decided that he's ready.
It's enough, yeah.
You know what? We had this conversation earlier, and I've come to this. This is the conclusion I've reached because I've noticed it with Etienne, Breece Hall, Austin Eckler even, who was a proven commodity. Kenneth Walker obviously took an injury, but it feels like teams are hesitant in the early season to really load guys up, especially at the running back position. Doesn't it feel like guys were almost kind of like brought along slowly and they were getting spelled a lot early because they're not getting the reps in the preseason maybe to get them up to speed? And about week 5, 6, that's when teams started playing people their normal amounts.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think with some of the young running backs too, it's also you're worried about pass protection. It could be the case with Kenneth Walker, who what do you have 168 yards in the game over the weekend, like just an absolute beast. So yeah, I think there could be something onto that. I think quite frankly, for a lot of these teams, there's something to that there is kind of a wading into this season. I mean, it is 17 games now, and nobody takes the preseason seriously.
Right.
So, or even camp for that matter, compared to what camp was like 10 years ago.
100%.
So it feels like everybody's kind of just dipping their toe into the season through preseason in the first 5 games, and now away we go. From here on out, they always used to say, Belichick always used to say when he had Brady that, and I've heard Chris Long talk about this. All right, let's see where we are Halloween. Well, that's this week. So that's the way you go. That you'll have 8 weeks of the season in. That's used to be half. It's less than now. But that's kind of, it seems like, where everyone's ready to go. So the only other, if there is a Kareem, 2 things I want to ask you on this. If there is a Kareem Hunt deal to be made, I would say it would be with the Rams. Like, they desperately need
it feels
help
that way
there.
Yeah.
Rock icon.
Corporate rock.
Remember the old days? Fun Rock.
She was great.
So great.
So by the way, Adam Schwartz said to me that the big dragon that he went to see was Vermithor.
Yeah, that's the guy. So I found that guy, and apparently he is smaller than the Vagar one.
Yes, it goes Vagar, then Merixes or something.
I think he's gone.
Then the Cannibal, whoever that is. That seems formidable.
Pretty formidable name.
And then Vermithor.
Okay, but some of that stuff, like some of these graphic stuff, isn't right. Vagar's the larger dragon.
Yes.
But bigger than this one, but this one is pretty formidable.
Yeah.
According to all of this.
Yeah.
So that's the way
they need to have this show out like tomorrow. Forget 2024. That's silly.
Why would you not have just shot 2 seasons at once? Like, just knock it out
didn't
because you knew it was going to work.
Shoot them all. Just
you had
nonstop.
10 million
nonstop
viewers. Yeah. Well, no, I don't mind a little wait. Like, give me 6 months off or a year. I think that's fair. Sure. But 18 months is a long way.
They're I'm told that they are very much trying. They're going to try to get it out in 2023 to hit so it's 1 year. Like, they'll start episode 1 would be a year after this episode 1. I read that.
Wow. I thought on Monday they said 2024.
They're not probably likely, but they're not. They're not.
Feels like there's a lot of CGI work that's going to need to be done for season 2.
It's a computer.
Yeah, but I think I was reading yesterday that the CGI people are behind because there's so much CGI work being done now in movies. Hardly any of it's real.
I know the sets aren't even real. I miss that they're not in.
That's why, like, when we watched Maverick with the boys, and like they weren't blown away by the visuals. I mean, they loved it, but they weren't as blown away because they're used to seeing all the stuff from the Marvel.
But it was real.
Well, I understand that, but they can't differentiate to them. What does that even mean? Like, I watch Iron Man grab a NASA rocket. What's so impressive about this? Like that's the
Because
same.
Iron Man
Didn't
he
do
didn't
it.
do that.
So that's what I had to say to them in the car. I was like, on the way home from Maverick, I'm like, you are aware they actually did all that stuff. And then they were like, oh, but
So-
they didn't have it in their head
Yeah.
going in that it was.
So one of the treats about Baltimore was pregame. I got to see the former Secretary of the Navy, Tom Modley,
Icon.
legend, Big L luminary, and his son Zach, and he's a pilot in the military. I'm pretty sure
a
F-16.
naval
No, he's
aviator.
Air Force.
Air Force.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure I have that right. And if I don't, I apologize. But I'm Air Force, yes. And he's in Arizona. And he, he'll send me videos of him flying, which are ridiculous. And I asked him, I was like, how close is that? He's like, yeah,
That was on it.
that was pretty good.
Did you ask him about the ability for Tom Cruise to evacuate going Mach 12?
No, we all know that's not
That's not quite
not
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like how that was in homage to all the right stuff and Chuck Yeager and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool how they did.
Yeah.
All right, so back to the give back, the James Robinson thing. Number one, so this is a 5th rounder. What's the give back on Kareem Hunt in a deal like that? That's what you're talking about?
I think you're talking about probably ideally would be a early day 3 pick is my guess. That's just the way that the world works right now.
Yeah, I think
because he doesn't have a contract either.
Right. Yeah, that's the other part of it.
My dreams of him going to the Jets, if he were to be traded, my dreams of him going to the Jets and us somehow finagling Elijah Moore from them are obviously dashed.
You always dream big, but I do think that
Thanks
what
a
you're
lot,
saying,
James Robinson.
What I did like your point of I'd rather almost have the asset than the pick, like a young player who maybe it's is a something where he's not going to be up for his next contract and it didn't
Here's the
work out
thing.
in that place. Like I'd rather almost have that.
I think the Browns could be both buyers and sellers at the trade deadline. Now it's the NFL, and we've seen more trades recently, but this isn't the NBA where a bunch of stuff happens at the trade deadline every year. However, what I will say is if the Browns are buyers, it will be buying that is not – there will be no rentals. Like we're out of – because of where we are, we're out of like the Robert Quinn rental market or, somebody like that. The market we would be in is if there is a young player that we like – who is under contract for this year and beyond. It would be somebody that they think can help us in 2023 and beyond, not just 2022.
Yeah. One thing to clear up, you saw this story with Mike Evans over the weekend with the official.
He didn't ask him for an autograph.
No,
so what did he ask him
okay.
for?
So there was this big, he asked for an autograph and all of this. Well, turns out the official and Mike Evans both went to Texas A&M. Okay. The official is friends with a golf pro in that area who Mike Evans wanted to get in contact with to take golf lessons from.
Okay.
So that's the story. So while it's a bad look, it's not, hey, Mike, can you sign something for me, which everybody ran with
Sure.
for 48 hours.
Okay.
So that's how that shook out. You have a problem with it or not? You fine with that part?
Yeah, yeah. It's take care of that stuff in the back halls.
Well, they were.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they're like, it shouldn't be hard. That connection could be made, it feels like, without an official.
Or certainly, the official is friends with the golf pro, so I think that's the
okay.
direct
He's Mike
comparison.
Evans.
Yeah,
and he could have somebody in his team.
Yeah. Well, the official went to A&M, so he probably knew Evans from that.
Okay.
So that was the.
So if they were like they went to A&M at the same time, like they were friendly.
No, not at the same time. Different. I think the biggest problem here is, I really don't have a problem with this at all. I think the biggest problem is that it was 48 hours. It took too long for the real truth to come out, Bootsy.
Right. Yeah.
Like all that had to be said on Monday night is, hey, actually, they both went to A&M. They have a mutual friend that's a golf pro that's going to teach Mike how to swing. Problem solved. On to the next.
Agreed. I also think that, number one, the officials need to be full-time employees. Number two, there needs to be a sky judge, and they need to get all these calls right. The problem exists because there are too many calls that are wrong. For example, offsides on us on a field goal that determine outcomes of games that you can't have the appearance, whether it's real or not, of buddy-buddiness or favors or something going down. Like, it all needs to be insulated from that. There's just too much money at stake, too many people's jobs at stake.
Yeah. Big news in the sports world from a sports media standpoint. CBS announcing yesterday, it was actually Andrew Marchand with the first reporting of this, that Jim Nantz will call his Final Four. The 2023 NCAA Final Four will be his last. Of course, he's saying at CBS Sports will do the NFL and the golf going forward. Nantz is 63. I do remember, was it Musburger before Nantz on the games? Or did Brent host just the – yeah, I think it was Musburger before Nantz. That's way long time ago.
That's so like I can't even think of anybody other than Nantz.
I remember Billy Packer.
Billy Packer
was with him, and then after Packer, Gibby's going to get the answer for us on this. After Packer, then it was Clark Kellogg, and then after Clark Kellogg, it was what it is now, which is Raftery and Grant Hill, and Greg Anthony had a little run too before he got in trouble. What a kiss, not a man. I'm trying to think if Musburger had the Final Four before. NBC, like way back, it was Enberg, Packer, and McGuire. Like they called the Magic Bird 79 Michigan State, Indiana State.
Nance's first Final Four was Duke in 91. Duke, UNLV.
So, all right, so then I have this right. Musburger had the Final Four before that. Nantz
like in the 80s?
Yes, through 1990. It was Musburger. Nantz hosted the halftime show thing. And then when Nantz replaced Musburger on the call, I believe I have this right, then Pat O'Brien went to studio.
So
Access Hollywood,
he
man.
first began covering the tournament in 86 as a play-by-play voice and a studio host. He replaced Brent Musburger, let go after a contract dispute for the 91 Final Four.
Why take a bow? Why does Nantz just not want to do it? Is your guess?
So I talked to him like a decade ago at the Memorial Tournament on one of the years where he did a bit of a hot mic. One of the years where he did the Super Bowl, the Final Four, and the Masters. And it was the year that Butler almost won it at the buzzer with a half-court shot at the buzzer, Gordon Hayward shot. So he had a thrilling Super Bowl, a Final Four that almost ended. It was either that one or it was the one where Villanova won it at the buzzer. One of the two. He had drama in all three, and then the Masters was great. And I said, how do you beat this? And he's so gracious. He's the nicest guy ever. And we talked about that a little bit, and he was very well aware of it. But I think the big issue is the dude lives at Pebble Beach. He's got young kids. He doesn't – why would you – he needs a break, man.
Yeah.
He wants to take his kids on spring break. The NFL season now goes all the way into February for him. So in the old days, he used to do a couple of Big Ten games in February and then the Big Ten tournament to lead in to get ready for the March Madness. Well, now he basically would do like the Big Ten tournament and then March Madness for 6 weeks, and it's like –
And then you go right into the Masters.
And then he's right into the Masters, and then he's got golf for a while. So it's like instead of all that, and the other thing is the PGA moved up into May.
Yep.
So he was basically going nonstop without a break. The PGA was in August. Then he's got a little bit of summer. He's a little down. It's my hunch that he's just wanted to get his time back.
And I would agree with that. And the other thing I would say is, and then maybe this is just me being an old man at this point, but I feel like March Madness is not what it used to be. College basketball is not what it used to be.
The last part I'll agree with. March Madness is like it's still that big. Great, and the numbers are still enormous. Like that is still that. It's not college basketball though. The rest of the year, college basketball is the tournament now.
Only
it used to be
the whole season.
Yeah, Big Monday, Super Tuesday, all that. That's gone. It's just the March Madness.
So 2 things. One, quote directly from Nantz. It is time with 2 young children and an older daughter that I spend more time at home. Daddy needs to be home, is what the 6-year-old and 8-year-old were saying.
Young kids.
Here's the interesting thing. Nantz plans to return each year to handle the trophy presentation after the championship game.
Awesome. Okay. So
I want to sit in the stands for the great majority of the game with my kids and tell them their dad used to call this game. Now, if you'll excuse me for a few minutes, I've got to go down to the floor and give the trophy away. That'll be a lot of fun.
What a remarkable ask.
It's great.
It's appropriate for a guy
who
lives
I'm hopping
at
on
Pebble
my
Beach.
plane and going back to Pebble.
But that's an incredible ask.
He's Nantz.
Right, he's not associated with the NCAA.
No, but he's Nantz.
It's amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
Good for Ian Eagle, though. I like Ian Eagle.
Yeah, and he does a great job. He does a really
great
great job.
He is awesome.
One other thing, and I don't think this has anything to do with Nantz, but we are at right now peak paying play-by-play and color guys. We just win it. I mean, you've seen everybody leverage it. Al's getting paid a lot of money to call garbage games on Thursday with Herb Street. Both of them are. The Monday night guys got paid a lot of money, and all we talked about was Manicast. Right? So I wonder if you're Nance and you look around and you go, Joe Buck is working like 20 weeks a year on a Monday and making more or as much or more than me. Maybe I don't need to do so much stuff around here. But I knew it would be the kids.
Yeah.
You knew it would be the kids. That's how that was going to go.
Score one for the
Living
kids.
at Pebble Beach. I had somebody ask me if last night was peak quarter zip, and I said, I feel like Nance has to be involved in any peak quarter zip situation. Last night was very strong. A lot of great quarter zip situations there. The Mannings love the quarter zips. But, boy, I feel like Nance, I mean, he's living at Pebble Beach.
He's got his own line.
Correct. He's got his
Set
own
the
line
tone.
of zips. Yeah.
I don't know, though. Obama looks strong, and both of them are, I mean, they're great.
Yeah.
I think the peak would have been if you swapped out Eli. No offense to him, he's tremendous. If it was Peyton, Obama's quarter zip from last night, and then Nance, that would have been the trio.
Those three are on the quarter zip Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I think that's how that goes.
By the way, Eli's just wanting to always bust on Peyton is great.
It's his one move.
It's a good one, though.
That he has.
He's got a lot of good stories.
He's got a lot of good stories. Yeah, he does. Peyton had some pretty funny jokes too about how Eli, they made him wait. Not sure what that was all about. On tackle football. So there was some of that. That's pretty good back. But yeah, it was good. That felt like peak Manning cast.
It was funny.
With those three in that game.
They both, when Obama first came on, they were both like kind of trying to take credit for Obama coming on, and Obama was like, actually, it was Cooper. Like, I wouldn't come on unless Cooper called me, and they're like, oh, he's never gonna live this down. He's never gonna stop talking about this.
Pretty good to be Cooper, by the way.
Feels great.
Your son is the #1 high school quarterback in the country. You are a Manning. You crushed it in real estate in New Orleans,
and
now he gets to do all this stuff with
he's in their ads, right?
Yeah, and
he's hosting something like Academic Bowl.
Peyton hosts it. He's like the
sidekick.
Yeah, the Merv Griffith.
Yeah, ha ha.
That's right. That's how that goes. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family owned and operated. With the join as a customer's employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. One thought from every NFL game from this weekend coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Bo here for my friends at Renew Home Exteriors, offering high-performance products that are durable, long-lasting, cost and energy-saving. They'll transform the look and efficiency of your home. Winter's coming, and it can wreak havoc on your roof. Ice and snow buildup can quickly turn into major problems. Don't go into the winter with concerns about your roof with Renew Home Exteriors. Get a new roof installed in 7 to 10 days for no money down and payments as low as $96 a month. Plus, receive free gutter guards with your roof purchase. Beautify your home with premium siding and roofing products at lower prices with Renew Home Exteriors. Visit renewestimates.com for more. Hello, Gibby.
Hello, boys.
Hey, buddy.
How are y'all?
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I understand. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Pace yourself.
That's right. That's right.
You know. Let's talk about the NFL.
Let's do it.
One thought from Week 7 in the National Football League. Madison, play us a little traveling music. We get started with Sunday Night Foosball. The Dolphins take down the Steelers 16-10. Miami rights the ship 4-3 now in the AFC East. The Pukers fall to 2-5. Bishop, start with you. One thought from Sunday Night Football.
I'll take the Miami side. We talked about the uniforms yesterday, so I'll spare you all of that.
So good.
They're so clean. I'll take the Miami side of it from the standpoint of they are obviously very, very dangerous with Tua, but they would be exponentially more dangerous with a A-list quarterback, and they're terrifying with one. They're really worrisome without one, but there were several times in the game. There's a play over the middle I remember vividly of Waddle stopping and waiting for the ball to be delivered, and if it is delivered on stride, he's still running because there's nobody within 30 yards of him, it feels like. So they've got a ton of weapons. McDaniel's brilliant. That's a dangerous team, even with Tua, who's above average, but just not elite.
That was going to be my take, was give them a star quarterback, and they're unreal. I mean, he threw the ball to the Steelers 4 times. They dropped 4 interceptions in that game. Pittsburgh, on the other side, that's a team with a quarterback with the talent of Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, and Chase Claypool, and Pat Freiermuth could be a lot of fun, and I don't think they've got one. Pickett made some nice throws, but he's clearly not ever going to be an A-list guy.
No, which is what we said in the draft.
Which is why you don't take him in the first round.
That's why you don't take him in the first round, yeah.
Yep.
Still think they were forced into it, him being the Pittsburgh guy. I think deep down.
Why were they forced into it?
Deep down, they were praying that guy was off the board by the time they picked.
They don't feel like an organization that bends to that type of stuff, but I don't know.
Up next.
I think what they should have done is once Malik Willis slid like he did, they should have taken both of them.
Like the Redskins did that one year when they had Schuler and Gus Farrat. Drafted them both.
They drafted RG3 and Kirk Cousins.
Well, they did it twice then because they did it with Schuler and Farrat, and then they did it again with Cousins and RG3.
Yeah. By the way, Heath Schuler didn't work out. Gus Farrat started for a while in the league.
And by the way, the latter pick worked out for both because Cousins stayed, RG3 didn't. So it was a latter quarterback who worked.
In the main afternoon affair, it was the Kansas City Chiefs taking down the San Francisco 49ers 44-23. KC improves to 5-2. The 49ers, injury-riddled, dropped to 3-4. Zagura, one thought from you.
Mahomes is so fun to watch. Juju Smith-Schuster's coming alive. They're starting to use McCole Hardman. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is their vertical guy. He had 3 catches, I think, for over 100 yards in this one, 111. They're fun to watch. The Niners, too beaten up. And then the last thing I would say, fantasy takeaway, you can't trust anybody in the Chiefs' backfield. They play McKinnon, Pacheco, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, all 3 of them. Yes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire keeps scoring, which is wild. But if he doesn't score, he's doing nothing for you.
On their offense, can you really – it's Kelsey and Mahomes.
Every
can you
week,
trust anybody else on that offense?
Smith-Schuster shows up.
Smith-Schuster,
They're all making
Sky
plays.
Moore's going to come. McCole Hardman had 3 touchdowns in this game. Like they
but
have
they're
so many.
Spread it around.
They are. Mahomes is best in the league in yards, quarterback rating, and touchdowns. In a year, they lost Tyreek Hill, who was his most ultimate weapon.
Yep.
Okay, so he's good. That's the cliff notes on that. And the other thing is this is why Kyle wanted out of Jimmy Garoppolo business. So he throws a terrible pick inside the zone after a muffed punt on a fumble. And they're beat up, but they're also this is why they wanted Trey Lance. Garoppolo's really nice, but there are limitations to him.
Much like with Tua in Miami, there are limitations.
Yeah.
Up next, they just keep on winning. The Seattle Seahawks improved to 4-3 on the season, led by Geno Smith. They take down the Los Angeles Chargers, 37-23. Chargers fall to 4-3 on the season. Bishop, one thought from you.
Well, my one thought is that Pete Carroll is laughing to the bank because he's getting better quarterback play out of Geno Smith than the Broncos by far are getting out of Russ. And actually, Geno is among the better quarterbacks in the league through 7 games. He has a 74% passer, 1,700 yards, 11 touchdowns, 3 picks. It's ridiculous what they're getting out of him. And it does make you wonder, like, did people miss on him after it flamed out in New York with the Jets?
It flamed out
like,
a couple times.
How did I know, but, like, why is it now working so well?
I don't know.
With this talent.
Maybe
like
he grew up a little bit.
74%. I mean,
he's playing well.
It's really remarkable.
He's playing well. Russ is not. The Chargers are underachieving. The Seahawks are overachieving. Fun game for running backs. Kenneth Walker III is awesome. We saw that last year in the game. What was it, against the Buckeyes? He had 4 touchdowns or something like that? Or was it?
No, the Buckeyes smoked him.
Was it against Michigan then?
Might have been against Michigan.
Michigan, yeah, and he beat Michigan.
He's the reason that Mel Tucker got $95 million to coach Michigan State. Mel Tucker
pretty good.
Send him a check for $1 million every year just to say thank you.
Get him on the Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah.
And then Austin Eckler, who was an undrafted free agent, he has now scored rushing and receiving, feels like every week. Mm-hmm. That's his 9th career game with a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. He is now tied for the most such games in a player's first 6 seasons in the Super Bowl era. So they're going to have their bye this week. So he's got 10 more games to do this one more time. And Austin Eckler, an undrafted free agent running back, is going to be the best, I guess, dual threat scoring running back in their first 6 seasons in NFL history.
Crazy.
He's one of only 8 players. Did you know this? To have 25 rushing and 25 receiving touchdowns in their careers. Only 8. And he's done it quickly. He scored in 4 straight games. He scored multiple touchdowns, I think, in 3 of the 4. He's an absolute animal.
Up next, guys, the New York Jets.
Picked him first in my draft, by the way. Got a lot of grief for it.
Yeah, worked out for you.
Who's laughing now?
Me.
The Jets are 5-2. More importantly, the Jets are 4-0 on the road. Jets take down Denver 16-9. Zagura, one thought from you.
Relegate the Broncos.
Where are you going to send them? CFL?
I was going to say,
that's it.
Do you want to?
They're out.
Do you want to send them somewhere?
Yeah, they're out. Send them to college.
You know what's
sad about Breece Hall? Very sad.
Yeah. Here's something. I don't know that you've learned anything if you're the Jets if Zach Wilson can play because he hasn't been great.
Did you see this? Jets are the first team since the 2011 Tim Tebow-led Broncos to win consecutive games with 105 or less net passing yards.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's like on a weekly basis for him. He's had one game where his quarterback rating, is over 90. He's been pretty dreadful throughout. He's a 57% passer. So they're doing it with defense and ground game and mostly defense. And so James Robinson's going to have to fill a big void at this point because he's not great or hasn't been.
Up next, the Raiders improve to 2-4. They take down the Houston Texans 38-20. Houston now 1-4-1 on the year. Raiders improved to 2-4. The AFC West continues to really underachieve, though, outside of Kansas City. Bishop.
No. I would not have watched this game if you made me.
Correct.
This sucks. This game sucked. Houston is going to go. They're going to pick really high and maybe twice. So this is all about next year for them. I don't give the Raiders any credit for this. It doesn't mean anything to me.
Segura.
Josh Jacobs has been incredible. I'm old enough to remember when Josh Jacobs, they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. They're running him out of town. He wasn't Josh McDaniels' guy. They drafted Zamir White, I want to say was his name, in the 3rd round or something. He was going to be the guy. They brought in Brandon Bolden from New England. Jacobs was toast. Well, he's run for 100 yards, and he had 3 touchdowns last week. He's one of the most dominant running backs in the NFL right now. And on the other side, you have another good running back. Dameon Pierce has been excellent and likely will end up, if he continues at this pace with the injury to Breece Hall, he'll likely end up as the offensive rookie of the year.
Next up, guys, it was the CBS A game of the week. Boy, humdinger. The Cowboys, Dak is back. They take out the Detroit Lions 24-6. Dallas improves to 5-2. Detroit now 1-5. Segura.
Dallas's defense is suffocating. Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott are an excellent 1-2 punch. Pollard's probably a little bit better, and they're starting to play him more than 50% of the time, but both of them are certainly very effective. Prescott, I thought, looked good in his return, and the Lions are just so hard to figure out, but they have so many injuries. Like, I don't know when the last time DeAndre Swift played was. Jamison Williams has not made his debut yet this
St.
season.
Brown went down.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, but he had missed like 4 games before that. DJ Chark is on IR. I mean, that was supposed to be a fun offense, and all of a sudden, it's not so fun because it's missing a lot of the guys that make it fun. The Dallas defense, though, is a fun defense to watch. They are dangerous.
Detroit can lean into the tank here if they want and put themselves into position to look. Sounds like there's going to be 3 quarterbacks to choose from here, whether it's Levis, Stroud, and Young, whichever one you like best. They can lean into this. Yeah, and I think they should. They should make sure that they pick in the top 5.
Up next, the big one in the AFC
Does
South.
Dan Campbell survive it if they?
No,
he can't, right?
I
Not
don't
3
think
of them.
you can. AFC South, the Titans take control of the division for now. They win 19-10 over the Colts in what would be Matt Ryan's last game, it appears, as the quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. Bishop.
Well, I thought what was most interesting about this was the press conference yesterday from Frank Reich where he said, well, we didn't give Matt Ryan what we told him we would give him. We told him we'd give him a great defense and a great running game, and we haven't been able to do either of those. It was almost like we're benching him, but it's not his fault.
So why are they benching him?
Well, I don't know. There's all this talk that it's ownership-driven. I have no idea.
He's got the most interceptions, the most fumbles, and he's been sacked the most in the league.
No, I know. I mean, he's worthy of benching.
Jonathan Taylor hasn't done anything.
He's done nothing. They can't run it. They spent the whole offseason telling him that Matt Ryan was the missing piece.
Had so different was Matt Ryan, all of it. Yeah, it's
now all for Sam Ehlinger? Really?
Wild. And Tennessee, not pretty, but they're winning.
Defensively.
Yeah, defensively solid.
Yep. Up next, the Carolina Panthers, shocker of the week. They take down Tampa Bay. Final score 21-3. Carolina now 2-5. Tampa Bay 3-4. And I don't even know who was the quarterback for Carolina, but Steve Wilkes has already said we're going with him. He's earned it.
P.J. Walker is the quarterback for Carolina.
There you go. No one cares.
Unbelievable. Just a wild outcome, one that you didn't ever think you would see. Brady was held to 3 points or fewer for only the 5th time in his whole career. He has 3 games and 3 seasons with the Bucs at 3 or fewer, which is stunning to me. Did you see the Mike Evans drop?
What's he doing? Is he picking a fight?
Oh yeah, look at that. Look at it. Look, it's beautiful. Did you see the Mike Evans drop? He was open by 100 yards and just dropped a walk-in touchdown.
I did, yeah.
Brady
seemed pleased.
They're so bad. It's wild.
Did you guys see the quotes from Shaq Thompson on Steve Wilkes?
No.
So
I liked Steve Wilkes when he was here.
I liked him a lot too.
Suave.
Shaq said, we thought he was done wrong in Arizona, and we're going to prove that he needs to be the long-term guy here. So you're going to get it at – now, I don't know if this is what ownership wants, but you are going to get a fired-up Panthers team from here on out, which is great because he was an awesome guy when he was here, but at the same time, probably not what ownership wants.
Next, maybe the second biggest upset of the week, the Washington Commanders. The Commies go into Lambeau. Wait, no, it was in Washington, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in Washington.
It was in Washington. Yep. Sorry about that. Washington, 23. Packers, 21. Bishop.
It's just Packers. There's a lot wrong there. I thought if you listened to Joe yesterday when he was talking about how Rodgers is taking all the easy stuff and refused to push it down the field, he's obviously watching those games pretty closely. That's pretty alarming. They don't really trust anybody. They were up big in this one to start, too, and then the Commies came all the way back and ended up winning. Big alarm bells in Green Bay.
Ayahuasca, man.
You've said it, baby.
Get him a receiver, though. Make a trade. Get him a receiver. If they should still want to compete. The NFC's wide open. Yeah. So just get into the dance.
Well, one team making their push to get into the dance, the New York Football Giants. They take down Jacksonville 23-17. Giants now 6-1. Jacksonville starting to fall apart here. They've lost 4 in a row. They're now 2-5. Zagura.
Danny Dimes impressive. He's more of a threat with his legs than you would think. He's averaging 50 yards rushing per game this year. Last week over 100. Saquon Barkley is back. And what's up with the Jags? And I'm finally at the point where I'm starting to wonder, did last year's all the bad of last year, does it have longer lasting effects than we would like for Trevor Lawrence?
It's certainly fair to wonder that.
Feels like it.
That if that is the case, because he's been absolutely very average pedestrian for much of this season for somebody who felt like it was sure to be a sure thing. Look, the Giants are good. Like, we just need to just get that out of the way and say they're good.
Yep.
They are. They're 6-1 now. They win when they're underdogs. They handle their business when they're favored. Yeah, they're a good team.
Next up, the Bengals take down the Falcons, 35-17. Game maybe a little closer than the score might indicate, but then the Bengals remembered they're the Bengals, and the Falcons remembered they were gutless. Bishop, one thought from you.
Yeah, this was a avalanche. They scored on every possession except for one, and that was kind of a kneel-down situation. The Bengals, I mean, I take no pleasure in this. The Cincinnati Bengals are built in a way that is not only sustainable, but I think correct in how to build an NFL roster. They have a franchise quarterback. They are young and elite at receiver. They can be in any game because of that. And if you were building a dream way to put a team together, they would be right there at the top of the list. And that's just the reality of it.
They're very good. We have had their number, but it's fun to watch them pass it, and they're just saying, you know what? That's who we are. We're a passing football team. We're really good at it. We have Jamar Chase, who is unguardable. We've got T. Higgins, who is huge and is able to beat most people in the league. And then when you're worried about them, Tyler Boyd is crafty in the slot, knows how to get open, and knows how to make big plays and find soft spots and zones. And Joe Burrow is incredibly accurate. They're very, very good. And, yes, this is going to be a big test for us on Monday night. But Joe Burrow's never beaten the Browns.
No, which is wild.
That's one thought for Week 7 in the National Football League.
Good job out of you, Gibby. All right, coming up next, Joel Bitonio from the podium. You have that to look forward to, plus a little better or worse, higher or lower coming up as well here in the final hour. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. First Energy Stadium. It's February 18th. Buckeyes in Michigan at First Energy. Tickets on sale now, starting at just $12. For more information, visit firstenergystadium.com/faceoff or call 440-891-5050. Now here's Joel Bitonio at the podium.
Hey, Joel, thanks for your time here.
Yeah.
You've been through a lot of lean times in your time with the Browns. Does this feel different, or does this feel like here we go again?
No, it feels different in the sense that some of those Bear seasons, we just didn't have enough to compete, at a high level. I think every game this year, maybe minus the Patriots, we've really competed well and been there in the end. So it comes down to executing, in those big moments, and it's little things add up to big things, but it's those little things that you got to execute and find a way to get a win, down the stretch in some of these games.
Hey, Joel. I think Jacoby was sacked 5 times. What do you think the issues with the protection were? It seemed like, especially maybe in those middle quarters where the offense struggled a little bit.
Yeah. Anytime you don't want the quarterback to get sacked, and I thought we were doing a pretty good job earlier in the season. This game, there was a couple where they zero blitzed us, and we didn't have an answer for it. So they had one more guy than we could block. And that was a couple of the blitzes, a couple sacks, a couple times guys just got beat. And so there was a couple scheme ones and a couple just one-on-one matchups where a guy lost his matchup. Hopefully you can fix the scheme ones and you try not to have too many of the one-on-one ones.
Joel, just wondering, do you feel there's a realistic chance for you guys to get this thing turned around and go on some kind of a run and stay in contention and keep this thing rolling along?
Yeah, I do. I just really do have faith in the people in the building, top down. I really do have faith in those guys, have faith in my teammates. And, I know there's a win out there for us, and you get one win and it can turn to 2. And you see teams that, recently, I think maybe the Eagles have done it. The Titans have done it where they've been, not great early in the season. And I think the Colts, maybe even, the Dolphins won like 8 or 9 in a row. They didn't end up making the playoffs, I don't think. But there's been teams in recent years that have turned it around. And I think we have the right guys to do that.
Okay. And do you feel like, even with Deshaun coming back for the final 6 games, if you guys can just stay relevant until then, anything can happen after that, right?
Yeah. I think for us right now is just trying to find a way to get one win, and then we'll see where we're at after this bye week. But hopefully we can just come together and, execute and do the little things this week to try and beat Cincinnati.
Without Wyatt, do you think that contributed to some of your issues in some of those, in that rough stretch for the line?
Yeah. Wyatt's a great player. So anytime you're missing out on a great player, it's tough. But I thought Yelda came in and, especially in the run game, really battled well, had some great pulls, had some really good things that he did well. Like everybody had 1 or 2 things that he wants to have back from that game, but he really played well. But no, anytime you lose a guy like Wyatt, he's a Pro Bowl guy. So that's someone you want to have out there when you can.
Yeah, Joel, it looks like David Njoku suffered a high ankle sprain. That's what the MRI showed today, and he'll be out, likely multiple weeks. Just wondering, you've watched him from the start. What kind of season do you think he was having, and how have you watched him kind of grow and develop over these years?
Yeah, I think he was having probably his best year yet. I think the stats kind of back that up, and then you watch him in the run game and he's done some really, really solid things. But, he came into us and I don't think he was even 21 yet. He was a 20-year-old kid, and he, had a lot to grow as a person and as a player. And he'll tell you that, but he's really taken strides, and, he was one of our key parts of our offense. So obviously if he, misses any time, it's going to be, another position where guys need to step up for us.
Hey, Joel, I wanted to ask you about David too, but Farrell is in the concussion protocol too. So if you guys are down 1 or even 2 tight ends, how does that change schematically what you guys do when you rely so heavily on the 2 and 3 tight end packages?
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Like you said, throughout the week, we have some guys on the practice squad that have gotten a lot of reps here. Miller's played for us already this year. and we have some other guys that have some experience. Michael Dunn has obviously played some big tight end for us. So I think we have options that we can still run it. And I think you saw late in the game yesterday, we were kind of in zebra personnel, 11 personnel, and we were still able to run the ball and do things. So there might be some different schematics, but I know Coach Stefanski and AVP have a plan for us, and whatever our personnel dictates, I think we'll be able to run some stuff out of it.
Yeah, Joel, after watching the film and after talking to Kevin today, he basically said that, Charlie did not move the ball on the false start. And we know what JC said, and we know that Michael Dunn said that he felt like he didn't move. And then, of course, on the pass interference call, those can always go either way. So my question is, do you guys feel like you really should have won this game and it was kind of
30
away from you with some of those late things, or is that just football?
Unfortunately, it's part of football. It's an imperfect, science reffing games. Like you said, the Amari's a 50-50 call most of the time. And then, if we make the field goal, we still have to go to overtime and play against them in overtime there, or they had some time left too to go down and score, I think.
10.
So it was one of those things where it definitely didn't help us, but we still could have found other ways to get a win.
You're up.
If a car, truck, or motorcycle accident caused you injury, call the injury lawyers at 1-800-ELK, Ohio for a free case review. Elk & Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. CBS Sports with a list of NFL trades that could make sense. And could we see an active trade deadline? We'll get into that coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. And the Bath Authority gives you the bathroom of your dreams in about a day, my friends. You can transform your current bathroom into a custom bath for a spa-like experience. Let the Bath Authority make it a true reality for you at a fraction of the cost of competitors as well. The Bath Authorities are our area's premier bath and shower remodeler, guys. They are experts. They are factory trained. They're ready to install in your home now. Give them a call. You get $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. That number is 216-220-8399 or go to thebathauthority.com. It's where affordability meets quality. An enormous selection of bath projects are all made right here in America. You change your bathroom from outdated to outstanding in about a day. Superior products with expert installers at the Bath Authority and thebathauthority.com. Did you see these images from the Tennessee Titans proposed stadium?
Yeah, I know you don't follow me. That's why I keep tagging you in my tweets, but you're not even seeing those either. What's the deal? What's up with the algorithm? Yeah, it's
a
beautiful.
real failure.
It's perfect. That's what I want.
Crush
Glorious.
it.
Make it happen. Make it so.
Yeah, it's a it's fantastic. The one thing I'm curious about, you saw that? Did you see the attendance numbers on this? The size
60,000.
60.
Small, intimate.
Very intimate. The one thing that's fascinating to me about this is I assume that this is being built not just for the Titans, although that's primary, but also for Southeastern Conference championship games,
Sure.
one-off college football games to start the season, national championship games, Final Fours, so forth, so on.
Sure.
World WrestleManias, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm wondering if you will start to see a shift to smaller as an effort to make it more not only intimate, but the experience better. Make it harder to come by the seats.
And make it right so that
in demand.
You want to be there. Yeah. Now, perhaps. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
It's a low number for an
very
NFL
low.
team.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bears are around there with Soldier Field when they redid that. I'm not sure what Jacksonville is with the cover where they're at when they cover all their seats.
After they tarp them up.
Yeah, I know they take the tarps off for when they play the cocktail party, which is this weekend. But other than that, they keep them all covered. Yeah, it's hard to imagine if you're building a new one that you don't do something like this so that you can get the use out of it.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And the way that the skylights are, yeah, feels like a win for everybody. The Minnesota model that's the one. That thing's flawless. This from Cody Benjamin of CBS Sports. NFL trade deadline is coming up. He put a ton of trades in here. Among those, us acquiring Frank Clark from the Chiefs for a 2023 fifth round pick.
I mean, it gives you a third pass rusher. I feel like I could see that, but is Frank Clark somebody that you think has a future in 2023 and beyond with the Cleveland Browns? I don't know. It feels like you'd be looking for somebody that's younger that would be able to help you for multiple seasons.
Yeah, I would agree with that. As I'm looking at some of these in terms of like game-changing things, I mean, we were having the Kareem Hunt conversation. Let's just continue it here. Here are several running back teams acquiring running backs. The Rams, we talked about the Rams.
Yep.
We do not want Cam Akers back, as proposed here. The proposed deal here is Rams get Melvin Gordon in the sixth for Cam Akers. That would be of no interest to us, but I could see the Rams having an interest in Kareem Hunt. The same, I think, would be true of the Bills, who he has acquiring Antonio Gibson, with the Commies getting a fourth-round pick there. Are those the only two? I think those are the only two running backs related. Yeah.
The biggest trade on here is the Chiefs getting, and it's not a running back, but is Cam Jordan going to the Chiefs. That's the biggest one of consequence that would enhance somebody's ability to win a Super Bowl. The rest of them don't really feel like, things of great consequence to me.
No.
Seahawks and Roquan Smith, Dolphins and Robert Quinn would fit that, but why would the Steelers get William Jackson III? I don't even understand that.
No, I don't understand. Like, what makes you take the time to write about Jonathan Abram being traded to the Vikings?
Right.
Yeah. Roquan Smith to the Seahawks would be interesting. That's for a third and a fourth, but they're not a team that's going to win the Super Bowl anyway. I would, in terms of the teams on here who are going for it, the 49ers already did. The Rams are. The Bills are. The Packers should be, if there's a receiver out there to acquire. He has the Rams being very active. They're not going to have any picks left if this thing all sorts out. He has them picking up Riley Reif as well from the Bears on the offensive line. Can the Bears really afford to trade any offensive lineman? Feels like that kid gets battered.
Barely. That's what they were saying last night. They're barely able to do it.
Yeah, that's hard to see a fit for that. Do you think that we will see a more lively trade deadline than this year? We've already seen McCaffrey dealt.
We've seen some deals. You always want to you always want to see, those things happen. I think it's more like fantasy football spurs it on. It feels like leading up to it, we get these lists and there's like 38 potential deals and then a couple happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like there's going to be mass trading. And it's weird this year because everybody's kind of in the same area. I could see good teams, though, like the Bills and the Chiefs making some moves that they feel like would address whatever weaknesses they have. I'd be all for that. I think that's fun. And for us, I think if we have an opportunity to recoup an asset, somewhere or acquire a young guy that we think fits what we do better than maybe how he's being used somewhere else, I'm all for that as well.
Here's why I think you could see some wheeling and dealing. In the NFC, outside of the NFC East,
yep,
there are 2 teams above 500.
It's wild. Yep.
2.
Yep.
The Vikings and the Seahawks are 4-3. That's it. That's the list.
Okay.
3 divisions, there are only 2 teams above 500.
That's so wild.
Yeah. And the 3 teams that are way above 500 are all in the NFC East, with the exception of the Vikings. And I don't think anybody thinks all those teams are completely real. So what I think you could see is NFC teams convincing themselves in a year where the NFC seems wide open, are we a player away? So that's where I think the McCaffrey deal happens for San Francisco. Hey, let's go right now. I think that's where the Rams say, hey, we got to get a running back in here. We got to get offensive line help in here. I think that's how the Packers could say, hey, man, let's get him a dude. Let's go get a receiver to play with him, and let's give him a real shot. Because the best teams in the NFC, the Vikings are 5-1. The Eagles are undefeated. And then it's the Cowboys have 2 losses. The Giants have 1. That's it in the NFC. Everybody else there are 2 teams above by 1 game over 500. Everybody else is under.
Yeah.
It's wide open.
Wide open.
And you can talk yourself into it. Meantime, in the AFC, we thought there were 12 teams that were Super Bowl contenders. Remember? We were counting?
13 that can make the playoffs.
13.
8, I think 8 that were Super Bowl and
right.
13 that can make the playoffs.
And now you would say, feels like there's 2 who are lock, stock, known Super Bowl contenders.
Yep.
And I think that list has from 8 has now down to maybe 4 or 5.
Well, and I'm trying to think who we thought couldn't make the playoffs. We thought the Steelers, but we felt like they considered themselves a playoff team. I think the Titans.
But
not
they
Titans, I'm sorry, the
themselves.
Texans. I'm saying the Texans.
No, I'll pull it up. I just want to.
Are 3 teams that we didn't think.
That we didn't think they thought.
Right.
Were contenders.
Texans.
Were Texans. Was it Jets?
Jets, maybe.
And they feel like they might be.
Yeah.
Texans, Jets, maybe Patriots.
But I'm sure they thought they were.
They probably thought it.
The whole AFC West, yes. The whole AFC North. So, yeah, maybe 14 teams we legitimately thought they were playoff contenders. And now you would say it feels like the Broncos are not.
Broncos are not. Jaguars are not. Texans are not. We're trending not.
Or on life support.
Vegas is not. Steelers are not. Patriots are trending not.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lot that's changed in terms of so many teams in this league, the way they viewed themselves has changed quickly in 7 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers were a team that absolutely Super Bowl contender, and they somehow have a winning record, though, and they couldn't be worse. That's the only thing that they have going for them, right? They could not be worse, and they're still 4-3.
Yeah, I saw Barstool aggregated something about that was like a takedown piece on Herbert about how he's not
that good.
He's not that good, but
he is.
Feels like he's that good
when you
watch him play. It feels like he's that good.
Agreed.
I think they're very, very poorly coached based on their talent level. I mean, their next 4, they're at Falcons, at Niners. Speaking of the Chargers, Chiefs at home, and then at Cardinals. That's their next 4 games for the Chargers. That's where they stand at this point. I was talking about this earlier with Philly and being the last undefeated team and how they're kind of running away with it down there, although the Giants just a game out at 6-1. This is the deal with Philly, and this is why people are skeptical. And honestly, you're going to remain skeptical. So they beat the Lions, beat the Vikings. That's their best win. They won at Commies. They beat the Jaguars. They won at Arizona. They beat the Cowboys without Dak. They have the Steelers this week. Okay. Then they're at Texans. Then they're Commies. Then they're at Colts. That's as easy a first 10 games as I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So I have no idea. They're 6-0. Okay. But they're not playing like
There's
and they look
something to
great.
beating who you're supposed to beat.
There's no question, and we know that as well as anybody.
Yep.
But they have not played the gauntlet that the Bills or the Chiefs or these other teams have played. Not close, and they're not going to. Then after that, there's some tests. They're Packers, Titans, at Giants, at Bears, at Cowboys, Saints, and Giants to close. But I'll tell you right now, that squad is going to be the 1 seed in the NFC.
Yes.
Because they're going to be 10-0. That's
no doubt.
That's where that thing's
or maybe they
headed.
they slip up when they're 9-1. But yeah, they are.
Maybe.
They're in a great spot.
I
No
can't
doubt.
see them losing to Pittsburgh, the Texans, or the Commies.
No.
And then at the Colts, that with Sam Ellinger,
Right.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we'll play a little higher or lower, better
Or worse.
Cleveland's fans skip the chore of laundry. Enjoy life, not laundry. Tide Cleaners offering 30% off dry cleaning for the month of October. Be entered to win 4 VIP Browns tickets to an upcoming home game. Just mention promo code Browns. Visit TideCleaners.com to find the closest location to you. Some exclusions may apply. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. OBM, the official prayer partner of your Cleveland Browns. While you depend on your Browns to win, you can always depend on OBM. They'll tackle any size office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. Time for a little higher or lower, presented by Keep It Fun Ohio from Ohio Lottery. Remind you to set time and spending limits when gambling. AP here in studio and Gibbe on the other side of the glass. Hello, Gibbe.
Hi, gentlemen. How we doing?
We are
Boys,
good.
Al, did you survive the weekend?
I think so. Did you, Gibbs? That's the big question.
I thrived, buddy. I thrived.
We all thrived.
That's right. I believe all of us in this room came away with A grades.
That's right.
Let's go.
It's usually how it goes.
Love it.
All right. So before we get into this, I've kind of come up with a question of the week. I did this last week.
Okay, all right.
My question to you is, which is the better division currently in the National Football League?
Okay.
The AFC East or the NFC East?
AFC East.
Yeah, I'm thinking AFC.
So the Bills would be favored over
Everybody.
everybody. The Dolphins would probably be close with
I said that quickly. I want to read
Dallas.
that.
Actually,
you're welcome.
I'm changing my mind. I'm going NFC.
Go
now.
look at
Hold on,
those.
hold
Go look
on,
at
hold
those
on.
numbers for a quick second.
If you did a tournament, okay, so here's your tournament. So your AFC 1 would be the Bills taking on the Commies.
Yeah.
Or NFC 1 would be the Eagles taking on the Patriots.
I'm
Yep.
staying with what I said.
Your AFC 2 would be the Dolphins
Jets.
taking on the Jets are the two?
It's the Jets.
Jets are the
All right,
two.
so Jets would be taking on the Giants in a Battle of New York.
And then Miami.
And then Miami would take on Dallas. The Bills would be favored for sure. The Eagles would be favored for sure. Miami, Dallas,
Feels like Dallas.
I think Dallas.
maybe.
The other thing with Dallas is
On-
you get the.
if we pretend these were all on neutral fields.
I would-
no,
I
you
would
said,
pick
you said the
Dallas.
Eagles
Close.
would be favored. You mean the Giants would be favored over the Jets?
We haven't done that.
No, we
yet.
haven't done that one yet. And I think
That would
I
be-
mean,
both those teams were.
the
The Jets were a 1-point dog at Denver, and the Giants were a 3.5-point dog at Jacksonville.
and we're 6 to the Ravens or whatever
Right,
they were.
crazy. So Vegas don't like the Giants.
No, so they probably would
But they
be
don't like the Jets either.
underdogs.
Yeah. I feel fine with what I'm saying because
The
they
Bills
have-
win the tournament.
The Bills win the tournament. They're far and away the best team. And just for the reason what I just said about the Eagles in terms of I think they're really good, but their schedule is the easiest. It's possible these teams are all beating up on similar scheduling. I think Miami has a really high ceiling. I think Miami's closer to Dallas and the Eagles. The Bills are by themselves. And then the Commies are far
Well,
and away the worst.
And that to play off of what you said,
But it's close.
in 2020, I believe we went 4-0 against the NFC East. I think
Yeah.
everybody in our division went 4-0 against the NFC East.
Yeah.
If you're lucky enough to play a division that's down,
Right.
you take full advantage of it.
I think the Eagles, Giants, and Cowboys are all legit teams. Now, I'm not saying that the Bills, Jets, and Dolphins aren't, but I mean,
Sounds
I
like
just-
you are.
just looking up the records right now and who they've played. I mean, I think we got to give the
Did
Giants
you
and the
hear me
Cowboys a
do
little
the
more credit.
Phillies record, the Eagles record?
No,
who they've
what?
played?
I know they've played some bad teams.
They haven't
but
played anybody.
And they're not going to play anybody
Nothing.
anytime soon.
Yeah. The Cowboys actually, the Cowboys' best win, they beat the Bengals in week 2. That's their best win. Other
Who
than
else?
that, they got the Giants, they got the Rams who suck. They beat the Lions. I mean, there's nothing here that's extraordinary. Let's see who the Giants have gotten. They're the surprise of the league at 6-1.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the Giants' schedule. We already did the Eagles. All right, so the Giants beat the Titans in week 1.
Yep.
That's a decent win.
Late. Yep.
Late. They beat the Panthers late. Lost the Cowboys. They beat the Bears. Their best win is against Green Bay. They beat the Ravens.
And the Ravens.
So those are their
And
two
Green
best
Bay
wins.
was in
Came
London.
back on
Like,
the
I think
Ravens.
Green
that's what
Bay
I'm
was
saying. I
in
think the
London,
Giants are legit. They're legit.
But
Vegas
I don't think they're
doesn't
better
like
than
them for a reason, though.
they're not.
It's because
I
it's
don't
Daniel
think-
Jones.
They're not better
No,
than Miami.
They have won a lot of games, yes.
All right, here's
They
Miami.
have not done it in a way that is conducive to continuing.
Now
that
compare what
winning.
I just told you, and I've already. Did you hear what I said with the Eagles on their record?
Yeah.
Who they beat? All
Yep.
right. So this is Miami's first 3 games of the season. They beat the Patriots, they won at Baltimore, and they beat the Bills. Then they didn't have Tua for 3 weeks. and then they beat Pittsburgh. I think their 4-3 is better than the Giants 6-1.
And they're undefeated.
Well, they would
with
play.
Tua.
Miami would play Dallas.
Yep.
No, I'm just saying, like, as
Oh,
we're
you're
stacking,
talking looking at-
Miami
the whole
should be
thing
the
out.
2
Yeah.
seed in the AFC East.
Right. Miami should be the 2 seed. They play 3 games with backup
Yes.
quarterback.
And I would like them
And
to
it-
beat the Giants.
1 game with the 3rd quarterback.
Yeah. Skylar Thompson or something like that.
All right. You guys swayed me. I'm back on the AFC East side. I've
But it's
switched 2
close.
times. It's not good, but it is very close. And I still would not be surprised if the NFC East teams hang around with if they're
We're
going
gonna
to
come up with one of
gotta
these
look at their
every
And
schedule
here's
again,
the
but-
thing, though. Nobody wants, even as bad as they've been, nobody wants the AFC West in that type of a 4-on-4 tournament.
No.
Who did I say
Absolutely
played the
not.
Packers? Who beat the Packers? The Giants.
Giants in
All right.
London.
Okay.
Packers
the
lost
Jets
the Jets as well.
at Lambeau, 27-10.
Yes. Yeah.
The Jets have won 4 in a row.
That's right.
And they're 4-0 on the road.
Yeah, their losses
Yeah,
are to
that's-
the
and
Ravens
that's
and the
big.
Bengals. Those are their
Ravens
2
week
losses.
1 with Joe
Yep.
Flacco.
Yep. And then they lost to the Bengals. The Bengals beat them 27-12. But their wins, they beat us, as we all know too well. They beat the Steelers. They beat the Dolphins without Tua. Then they whipped the Packers, and they beat the Broncos.
In
We
one of the
keeping you up,
ugliest
Z?
games
But
ever.
it's
all right?
close. I mean, it's closer than I thought.
Yeah.
I've said AFC straight away, but then you think about it. But I feel fine staying there.
My big question of the
I
week.
like it. Good job out of you.
There we
Good
go.
question.
Power rankings. NFL.com. Den Hanses with his weekly power rankings. We get right into it. Number 25, your Cleveland Browns. Are you throwing away the power rankings already?
No, I threw away the wrong packet.
Oh, there you go.
Now I'm back.
I mean, it's fine. I would not be offended at all.
No,
they're
it's
25th,
the
so
wrong one.
I mean, if you want to throw it away. In front of them are the Squealers at 24, the Bears at 23, the Falcons at 22. Behind them, the Colts, the Broncos, and the Commies. Poisel, higher, lower, or just right for the 25th ranked Cleveland Browns?
I mean, I think you can say that they can go ahead of the Steelers, but I mean, I still think this is kind of just right for them. I mean, I'm sure you guys have talked about it, but they're finding ways to lose right now. Obviously, the losing streak is at 4 games, and I just don't see how you can make an argument for them to be any higher on the list right now when they're in this kind of funk, and it's a deep funk.
Zagura.
I want to win games. That's where I'm at. Like, and it's wonderful that, and I haven't even looked at this one to see if it's true because I didn't go through the people that are behind us. But most power rankings, this one does not. This says the Steelers ahead of us. That's
Yeah,
outrageous.
the Steelers are
That's
ahead of us, which is
stupid.
ridiculous.
Most of them have us as the best 2 and 5 team in the league. Woo! All right, wear a ribbon for that. Whatever, doesn't matter. We are not winning, so we cannot be in the top 75% of the league, unfortunately.
Nope.
Next,
Higher or lower?
number 1, the Buffalo Bills. Number 2 is Philly. 3, Kansas City. 4, Dallas. Takes us to number 5, and the Cincinnati Bengals. Bo Bishop, I will start with you.
Yeah.
Higher, lower, or just right?
I mean, Kansas City should be 2 on this list. All right, Cincinnati at 5. I would have them higher. I have
You
them
love
better
them.
than Dallas. I don't love them. I just think they're.
You do.
I think that they are. You don't love how they go about their business.
I think that they've
I'm
come
very
to life
envious
the
of
last
them.
few weeks, and yeah, of course they had a great run.
They were wading into it.
A couple weeks ago,
Burrow
though-
missed 2 full weeks of training camp.
Yep.
With appendectomy.
Mhm.
None of them played.
Yeah,
None of them.
By the way, they canceled their entire off-season program.
Right.
Remember, they didn't have OTAs or anything.
They a lot of people
I forgot
waited
about
in.
that. That's wild.
That's true.
Yeah.
A lot of people waited into the season. Like they put a pinky toe in to start the season. The last 2 weeks,
Joe
I
Bur-
understand they're not playing world beaters in the Saints and the Falcons. I acknowledge it. But if they
beat
were
who you're
playing,
supposed to.
if they were playing the Cowboys right now, I'd have them beat the Cowboys.
it'd be a tough matchup for their
Zagura.
offensive line. I like the Bengals, and look, I think that they are scary. I think this is probably just right. Like there's nobody behind them that I would leapfrog them with. I do think the Vikings are getting a little disrespected right there. I'd put them ahead of the Giants, but it's a wacky. Look at the list. Look who's in the top 15. It's
Right.
just such a weird season in the
It's insane.
NFL. The Bengals are a dangerous team. They've got a great quarterback. They have maybe the best receiving trio in the NFL. Their defense has been solid, not spectacular. When you say they don't strike me as a dominant football team, but they're in that they can beat anybody, lose to anybody, but I think more often than not they will beat people because of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, and Joe Mixon.
Yep.
Next,
Higher or lower?
Number 6, the New York Football Giants. Number 7, Minnesota. Number 8 is Baltimore. Number 9, the Tennessee Titans.
Jeez,
at
it's
4
such a
and
weird
2.
list.
Zagura, higher, lower, or just right for Tennessee and their new stadium.
Lower. I think the Dolphins with Tua back are better than the Tennessee Titans.
I agree.
The Niners are so banged up, it's hard to even know what they are right now, but a Niners team would be better. The Rams are not good. The Jets are kind of fun. But yet, chips down? Come on. Give me the Dolphins. It's hard to even get excited about the Chargers right now, but I don't know why I'm a sucker for that Chargers team.
Anthony Poisal.
Yeah, I think there's a ton of average teams in the league right now. I think I went back when I first got the power rankings and just looked at how many teams are one game above 500 or one game below 500 or at 500, and it's 15. So, I think this is okay. The Titans start the list of average teams here. I mean, they've won 4 straight against fairly easy opponents with the Raiders, Commanders, and Colts twice. So, Z, I think you make a bunch of good points, and I think you could even put the Jets in front of them. You can put you could even put the Niners in front of them. I think the Dolphins definitely in front of them with Tua. So,
but when they follow their formula, which is our formula, they're very good. When they play good defense, they run the ball with Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill makes a couple of nice plays off of play action.
And
they're
works.
a very dangerous team. They win.
Yeah.
You know what I like about them real quick? Their team is the personification of Mike Vrabel's attitude.
Yeah.
So he has a team that is very honest to his beliefs. They all row in the same direction. So even when they're not as good as some of the teams on this list, and they were 0-2 to start, they don't work. There's no buy-in worry. They're all in.
Totally.
They're
We
all
had written them
into it.
off. We were calling for Malik Willis. They're
Yeah,
like,
we're done. Nope.
No, wrong.
Next,
Higher or lower?
number 10, the New York Football Jets. It takes us to number 11. Anthony Poisal, lead us off. The Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
Higher, lower, or just right?
Yeah, I laughed out loud when I saw that this was once again on the list because we've been saying it all along. This is lower. They're worse than number 11. They were on a bye this week. We talked about this last week, but their 3 wins are against the Falcons, Cardinals, and Panthers. They're 15 at best in my opinion.
Bo Bishop.
They have to do something in the next week if they're going to try and contend. They are not this good. They're not close.
No.
They should probably be somewhere closer to 20. I mean, they might be better than the Patriots. They should be down where the Bucs and Packers are, quite frankly. Those 3 teams, there's no difference. They all suck compared to what their expectations was. So they're 10 spots too high.
Next.
They are bad.
Higher or lower?
They are, yeah, you're right. The next 7, 8 days, they got to do something. Number 12, San Francisco. Number 3, Vegas. 14, Miami. 15, Seattle. 16, the Chargers. 17, the Patriots. And it takes us to number 18, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bo Bishop. Higher, lower, or just right for Tampa Bay?
Lower. More importantly, I've got a question for all of you. Is this how it ends for him?
Yeah.
This is why you should have walked away last year and just
Should have walked away after he won the Super Bowl in Tampa.
I mean, it's
We all
miserable.
want that, but we forget Jordan played for the Washington Wizards. For
Who's the
God's
one that
sakes.
did it? Elway?
Elway walked out.
Super
Manning
Bowl
did
champion.
too. Manning walked out Super Bowl. I'll see you down the road. Now he wasn't at his peak of his powers at that
Favre
time.
kept trying
Far
to
from
run it back,
Yeah.
and it got ugly.
The reason I ask is that 49ers situation next year for him, if he ever wanted to play at home.
It's done for him in Tampa, I feel like.
That's what I'm saying. Is he done? Or is
No.
he going to talk himself into, I want one more in the
Run
perfect
at it.
situation?
He'll want one more run at it in a good situation.
And is
I
that-
don't think he'll. If
is
this
that
goes
Miami
off the
or is it
rails,
San Francisco?
If this goes off the rails, which it's starting to, but they're still in a tie for first place in their division.
Oh, yeah. Either way, he's done there. I just want to know. I'm curious if you guys think this is done for
I think it
football
depends
with
on
him.
how it goes. I
I think this is the last year, and
I'd love to see him in San Francisco.
He's 45, man. I know he's the GOAT, but come on. You really think he could, after this year, he's going to be able to put himself through one more year of this? I
Yeah,
don't know.
because now
Just
he's
ride
going to have
off
a
into
full.
the sunset, man.
I think what he's going to do is he's so competitive and he kind of, in some ways, I think his decision, at least based on the reporting, right, his decision to come back has led to the demise of his family, right?
Yes,
Like
like,
the-
everything in the
Are we,
background.
are we
pushes it.
sure? Like, is it? He really is. He really. There's not more to it.
That's what they said.
I
mean,
know,
that's what.
but I just find it hard to believe that like it was like, okay, don't you dare play, Tom, and then he's like, I'm playing, and all right, we're done.
We're done.
Divorce. Like it
Yeah.
feels like
It
there
feels
should
like-
be more to
well,
it.
maybe there is more to it.
Yeah, it feels like there would be.
I mean,
But I think-
I don't think I think you can question his commitment based on all the things he's
Oh,
done.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
this year.
disappearing during training camp.
He's-
the
Well,
very
Well, that's
un
because he
Tom
was
Brady
trying to
things.
solve.
And isn't he taking every Wednesday off? And I know it's like a veteran thing to do, but still, you're the quarterback. He's taking every Wednesday off. Of the,
Yeah, you're
He
just
would have
throwing the
never
ball
done that
around.
with Bill.
right, exactly.
I wonder. I feel like, to me, it feels like he goes home San Francisco for a swan song, or that's it. I don't know that he goes to Miami.
We little bit of breaking news. We have an earthquake in the Bay Area. 5.1 earthquake being felt out in the Bay Area. Text not Pedro.
that is breaking news.
Let's make sure that we're all on the up and up there.
5.1 is
That's
not.
pretty. Is that a?
That's
That's
big.
You
It's,
feel
you'll
it.
feel it, but it's not like sixes, sevens is where it gets
Well,
dicey.
dangerous.
Hopefully, it's not leading to something
Yeah.
bigger.
Let's get
Right,
a text.
right. Oh,
Let's
yeah,
get a
no.
text to not Pedro immediately. 12 miles from San Jose. It looks like
Oh, that'd be close to him.
between San Francisco and San Jose.
You might feel that one.
Yeah. All right.
Should we end on that?
I think so.
All right.
I think so.
Man.
All right. We'll have an update from not Pedro here shortly. So much more to come. Good job, AP. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. There's a new way to cheer on your Cleveland Browns to help your favorite four-legged companion. Barking Backers, presented by Milkbones, the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today, barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs. Do you have a Pedro update?
No response yet. So I will hopefully we'll get one soon.
And we got to get a Pedro.
Yeah, we need
How common is that number?
5. 5's
That's
notable.
feelable.
That's
You're
why-
feeling that.
Is that why it made it on the news?
Yeah, I think that's why it got some attention
Yeah,
because
5 is-
5.1 is you feel that one.
I want to say, I'm trying to feel like what the Loma Prieta, which was the one during the World Series, 1987 earthquake. I think that was like 6.3. I want to say. That was 5.9, and that did.
Okay. So,
No, wait, that's Southern California.
Yeah, I was going to say that's bridges collapsing and all that with that bugger.
San Francisco, 1987. It was 1989. I'm sorry, 1988 was 6.9.
Okay, so
That was the one during the World Series. That was serious. 67 people died, $5 billion in damages, bridges collapsed. Like, that's 6.9. That's serious. Over 7 is devastation.
Mhm.
The two biggest ones, there's one I want to say in like 1905 that we would always go learn about, and that was, I think, like 7.3.
and that was Bay Area.
Bay Area, yeah.
Yeah.
In 1905, 1906.
1.
I'm close to all these. 1906, that earthquake was a magnitude, it was over 7.
Yeah. That's the earth swallows you whole.
That's devastating
point,
stuff.
yeah.
7.9.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's big. All right.
They used to have a thing we'd go to at the aquarium, and they would have this like thing you'd stand on, and it would simulate what the ground would feel like at different
30.
magnitudes. And they had that one, 1906, 7.9. I mean, it was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived through. I was there for the
you were
1989 one.
there.
It was
89, yeah.
nuts.
Yeah, that is. It is.
Yeah, 5.1 should not be much damage, but it will be noticed. Like
It'll certainly
you would have felt
feel it. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. The next level coming up next. We're back tomorrow. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.